I think people get tattooed because, there's not a lot of real stuff left in the world, and it's all like a 24-hour news cycle. Nothing lasts. With tattooing, it's blood, it's pain, it's permanence. When you get that needle in your skin for the first time, you have to be there. You can't just call it in. You have to sit there and take the pain, and then sit there and heal it, and then you got to live with the consequences of your action.
Hey, welcome to the East West Podcast with your host, Horisumi. Happy Saturday, everybody. This is, what's the date today? November 25th, 2023. As promised, I am doing interviews with tattoo artists and other craftsmen that I know personally or whose work I like. And today will be the first episode with an interview. So for my first interviewee, I've chosen a tattooer I've known for 20 years, a big inspiration to me, a good friend. His name's Alex Reinke, also known as Horikitsune. He was Horiyoshi 3's only Western student for 20 years. And he's got a giant body of work, beautiful traditional Japanese. In the last 10 years or so, he's gone mostly freehand, just drawing on epic bodysuits. And I'll show some of his work here. You can check it out. As you can see, it's beautiful, colorful, big, dynamic work. And yeah, I'm really happy to have him on the show. So we have about a 50-minute interview here, just talking about who he is, his career, how he got into tattooing, a little bit about his relationship with Japan, and that kind of thing. So I don't want to spoil it for you. I'll let you guys watch it. And I hope you enjoy it. Here you go. Hey, Alex, what's up, buddy? How are you, man?
Very well, thank you so much.
Now, where are you today? Are you in London or are you in Germany?
I'm in Germany right now.
Okay, cool. So a little bit of a backstory on you and I. We've known each other for over 20 years, right? I met you at the Barcelona. I think I met you at the Barcelona Tattoo Convention. Long to like 2001, maybe 2002, something like that.
Yeah. Yes.
And you were, man, like I was just starting out, traveling, just moved to Europe, and you were like this big name dude. You're Horiyoshi's apprentice, and you were doing all this Japanese stuff. And I was very, besotted with your story at the time, and we became friends, and we've kept in touch over the years and hung out. And I just wanted to do a little interview with you to talk about your career and your path and what you're doing now and stuff like that. So where do you think we should start with your story?
Oh my God, man. I mean, I don't think I was that big back then at all, and I don't think I'm still not very big now, and I don't even know if I want to be. I this the way I do it for nearly 30 years now. So it's a year more, and I'm doing this. It's like 2 years more, I think, and then it's 30 years. So technically, I'm still apprenticing. So in the last 10 years of the Shuhari apprentice system, the last 10 years is basically self-studies. Yeah, I have 2 more years left. I always embrace that system very much.
Tell me about this. Tell me about this Shuhari system.
The Shuhari that's basically 10 years copying your master, permission, obviously. 10 years perfectioning the style, and then 10 years breaking away. And obviously, the whole thing is based on a very close relationship to your master for at least the first 10 years. And we're talking about the 10,000 man hours, really. It's like just about 10 years. And
Right.
Every 10 you have about 10,000 man hours under your belt, or sometimes even more if you're a bit more of a maniac or how would you say? Nice. Someone got a message. Or dedication. If your dedication into the subject matter is quite deep, you you put a lot of hours in, and I could definitely feel a sort of clicking in what I was doing after every decade.
Right.
If I was not, and I could definitely feel a huge in improvement and change in my work and what I
What
did.
what drew you first off to traditional Japanese? What was the thing that made you dedicate your life to traditional Japanese tattooing and the Japanese way of tattooing?
Um, well, I was always a bit of a loner as a kid and stuff, and I started to I always drew when I was a kid. Everybody liked it, like you know how it is today. Now I'm old, you know myself in a way, you know, and I know how things work now with meeting other parents and their kids and or your own children and seeing them draw and be creative and how amazing it is, you know. So everybody thought it was so good. Obviously, it wasn't really, in a way, you know. There's much better people out there, but you know, I was just doing my thing, and I was getting into. There was a family connection to Japan from very early in the 20th century, 1910. A great aunt of mine went to Japan on the ship from Stuttgart to Hamburg in a train, and then from Hamburg to London on a ship, and then from London 3 months on a ship to Yokohama, actually. So, you know, we had all these Japanese sort of little trinkets from as a family heirloom and stuff, you know, standing around my grandparents. And
And Japan had a big connection to Germany too, right? Not only with the war, but
yeah,
they
Japan.
adopted the German form of government as well in the late 1800s, early 1900s too, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different similarities. We used to call them the Prussians of the East here in
Right.
Germany, because you know there's just similar traits to life. You know, discipline, work, especially, and some form of dedication and expertise in what you were doing. I think the Japanese, knowing this from my own experience, have brought it to a bit more of a perfection. You know, I think it's unmatched. Their dedication to their work, it's nearly um, on a spectrum of psychological. You know,
Obsession.
yeah, yeah. You know, it's a bit on the spectrum, I would say, definitely. And if you're not
Yeah.
on the spectrum, if you join some job, they're gonna make you be on a spectrum. You know, if you don't have OCD yet, you're gonna have OCD. You know,
Right.
because you know, just seeing how they check the train guys check all the lamps and lights, and then the train goes through, and you're following the train and everything. You know, so they make sure that you are definitely, you know, doing your thing, and you probably do that when you're sleeping as well. Um, so, but I really respect that, and I really admire that. I never had it was never alien to me, and I started martial arts. And when I started martial arts, I was much more drawn to designs of the Asian nature. So it was starting very early, and you know, I don't know, some a few friends I had, they were a bit older than me. They were already starting to get into the age where they were able to get tattooed, and I was like 14, and they were getting 18, and then they thought I was drawing quite well as well, and then I just designed some stuff for them, and they went to a tattoo shop, and sometimes I
Wow.
joined them to look at them getting tattooed, and then we went to the States. So my dad was a big fan of of America. We went to Japan as well at around the same time. We did my first Japan trip was at 91, and which was of course a dream come true. And I have this photo of me and my mom and my sister that my dad took in front of the Buddha in Kamakura, And the funny thing is, I went to Japan a month ago with my daughters to show them Japan, and we went to the we went to the Great Buddha, and I counted the tiles that are there, so we would stand. And it's such a mind fuck, man. How life works, how time works, and how it is like something that really only works for us and exists in our human sphere. Really, it's this is something so etherical. Anyway, that's a whole different story.
The big question I have, and I talk a lot in my podcast about like tradition, and and you're the same, and you have your whole tradition thing, which I respect. And how did you get in the door to your apprenticeship, and what was the mindset you had to follow through with it? I mean, I have apprentices come through here all the time, and they fuck me. Oh, I'm really into it. I'm going to do it. And they last like 3 weeks. And they're like, oh, I'm over it. You know what I mean? And what was the mindset you had to work for a master? Obviously, submit yourself to the process. That's what I'm curious about.
Well, I was raised by a military man who was very disciplined. I made my bed and his breakfast about 13, 14 years or something,
Really?
Yeah, very early on, every day, every morning. It was all set up. I was the first up. I never questioned that. There's a lot of things that I know now as an older man, and as in what is, what service is and where it derives from within a human nature. And I know I never questioned a lot of things as a younger man. And there is a lot of amazing things I really admire about this system and about service and about the nature and the philosophy of it. It has its perks, no doubt about it. Questioning authority is definitely a very important thing. However, it depends. Of course, in Germany we say the apprentice years are not the master years. So you have your time, you have your time to serve, and your dues to pay. And I did military service as well. I did pretty much everything my dad asked of me because I respected him, and he always wanted good things for me. He didn't want me to jump off a roof or anything, so he wanted me to finish certain school and a certain level of it, and military service, and these things always they were serving some, maybe it's my German nature, maybe it probably has quite a lot to do with it, to be honest. But then of course the master himself is a big factor, and how he is towards his students. There is masters that are very wise and very kind and have a certain humility about themselves, and there's others. And to be very honest, the master that I had has been very kind and had a very big heart, and he from his own experience, I'm sure, had a certain way of doing things that were quite easier to deal with, especially at the time I joined him. He was very.
What year did you join him?
Well, I met him in 97. We started my tattoo project in 98. I took care of him a bit, when he came over to Germany for the Berlin Convention, and I joined him for some other conventions, and we grew a very, pretty deep connection.
And for those who don't
And
know, we're talking about Horiyoshi III of Yokohama, probably one of the most prolific and well-known Japanese tattoo masters in the world. Published many books of art, prolific body of tattoo work, both by hand, tabori, and by machine later in life. And he's still tattooing today. How long has he been tattooing now? Like 40, 50 years?
no, it's over 50. Yeah, I think it would be over 50.
So, I mean,
If he's doing today, he's apparently not so well, but it seems to be quite better than I thought. Don't have that much contact anymore, I have to say.
Yeah, sure.
But I bought a book in America of Susie Feldman, and that book had all the bodysuits in there, and I was about 14 years old, and I bought the Tattoo Time from Ed Hardy in his shop when I was about 14. It was as well. I was in San Francisco first time, and ran into his tattoo shops. So I had no idea who was who or anything of the scene, but it was always clear to me that I wanted to have a bodysuit. And the name that came up in this book most was Horiyoshi III. So I chose that artist for my bodysuit. And I went to him. If I would have had a book with another name in it, I would have probably went to that person. I didn't choose this man because of me knowing who he was or what he was. It was a different time. There was no internet in that sense, or very little of it. We had to write faxes and letters, and it was.
He loves the fax machine, right?
Yeah, he still, I think, only really does that. Yeah. So I had to buy one of those, and I have all the faxes that we had that we wrote to each other. Still quite a stack. Anyway, the time I joined him was just the time when he was expanding to the West even more, So that was the Tokyo Tattoo Conventions. 2019, actually, yeah. And I went to those. And of course, those were the places where I met most of my colleagues that I'm friends with today, or people that I admire to this day as amazing artists in this trade. And it just grew out of this, And I helped where I could, mostly without being asked, because I thought. It was never my plan to become his student from the get-go. It's just something that arose, and that happened naturally in some sense. It just probably to be. I guess looking back, it's always more easy to trace back the red thread and see how.
Was there an actual official? Him taking you in as your apprentice, like a little ritual or a ceremony, or is it just an agreement and a handshake, or how did that work?
Well, I asked him before if he actually takes students, and he said no. So he had one guy that came was there on a regular basis, but that didn't seem to have worked out for a long time, like quite a few others. But in a cab in London, they were talking to each other. I think they kind of realized that the family, his wife and him, that they wanted to have someone they can trust in Europe for his son when he is bigger and he would start to travel, that he could have someone there to take care of him, which I actually started to do back then quite a bit, because he actually did start, and he's now Horiyoshi 4, which is really nice. Quite an achievement. And of course, like I said before, the Shuari system, 30 years. There's a lot of time to reach mastership. In Japan, you don't, lots of people are always expecting people to be an absolute amazing master immediately. And that is, of course, a lot of rubbish, especially in that subject, which is so broad, wide, and deep. It's taking a long time, and the learning in that field never really stops. Like I said, I'm nowhere, and and everywhere at the same time, probably. But I do know more and more. I do have the feeling more and more that I kind of do know what I'm doing, which is quite nice and comfortable, But there's
Did he
always
teach you? Did you learn Tabori at the time? You started off with machine and you learned some Tabori from him.
I
But you
learned I learned tattooing from him, and he introduced me to his friends, which of course was an incredible stepping stone. So I met people like Philip Le and Mick and Luke Atkinson, and amazing people, and they were all so nice, and I got on with everyone. That's maybe another thing. I get on with a lot of people, a lot of different people, and I think that's a very important trait to have as a tattooer as well, in my opinion. That you're kind of a fan of humanity, of humans as well. You're humans because there's so many of them, so many different beliefs, so many different characters. So I give everyone space to be themselves and give everyone respect, and I don't really demand that much of respect. Of course, I have my, I don't think I've never been really disrespected in any way, shape, or form in that sense. But I go with the flow, and it's not something that I do because I have an agenda. It's something that I do naturally. That's just me as a person. And I think that
something I need to work on.
well, everyone, I know you for a few years, it's always good to work on yourself for sure. But you're doing great work. But you have your set. You have quite a set idea, frame of ideas, and which aren't bad, I think. But I don't know. It's very hard for me to give any advice on that front. But I can tell you that I didn't have a huge, amazing ceremony. They just said to me in a cab in London that you wanted to be an apprentice a year and a half or 2 years ago, and I think you're okay. You fit, and that's basically where it happened. Funny enough, I live in London now, and I'm driving past this place where it happened quite a few. So it's a bit of another weird coincidence, and so it doesn't always have to be so grandeur, kind of. I mean,
Yeah, there's that romantic idea of the tea
yes,
ceremony and the
of course.
stuff in the movies, that kind of thing.
All this stuff has its place, but you always have to imagine as well. We are both not Japanese, it's another big, so and Horiyoshi was always very open to Western ways as well, and did a lot of things Western ways.
Well, I mean, as an example, I got my name Horisumi through Horiyoshi. Some people don't know that you were the main part of that, right? And then you sent me the faxes of you and Horiyoshi faxing back and forth what name to give me and how to figure it out and stuff. And I think it's a neat little part of my history, and I'm forever thankful for you for organizing that.
You're most welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
pivot to. Go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
He was always very very liberal. He's of course he became so well known because he was like an ambassador to it. He was one of the
Right.
first to country and meet all these people, and he was always around, and he really made an effort. He did a lot of traveling, especially for a Japanese guy. They never don't do that much, and he went to so many conventions. It was a lot of investment and of
I
time,
mean,
and so
so let's.
he always enjoyed that very much, and it was great, and it was a fantastic time, back then, and I was happy to assist him in any way I could, anywhere he went, so I cleaned the shop every time I was over. I was tall enough to reach all the top places in the shop, to dust it, which didn't happen a lot before. And garden, I did, and I enjoy gardening. I do like, I don't mind cleaning. I cleaned the toilets in the military for 60 people, 3 toilets after the
Wow.
weekends. Oh, absolute joy. So I always went in there, full on. I don't know. There's people that can't even smell or sees the shit like that. I'm a surgeon's and soldier's son. We had all sorts of gory shit at home. There was no not much space for animosities with digging shit. So. Which I'm very grateful for, because I probably would have turned out to be an absolute idiot and have had some form of hardship,
Okay. So
in my, So I
let's
think
let's let's
important
pivot
to know.
to your approach
Yeah.
to the work that you do, because we don't have a huge amount of time left because of our technical difficulties this morning. When someone comes to you for a back piece, right? What's your approach? I mean, you're looking at obviously creating something in the traditional style. You're looking for a little bit of who they are and what suits them. Like, what's your approach to somebody? What questions are you asking them? What advice are you? What counseling are you giving? What guidance are you giving? Big question. I know. I know it's a big question, but we all have
Well,
this innate thing in us, right? We do this subconsciously, right?
there is of course a set of sort of rules with this as well. Like a big, strong, scary-looking guy. He usually gets quite benign designs to have him still be somewhat approachable. If he gets
Soft a little bit. Yeah.
all the cut off heads and stuff, then he's done for. I mean, no woman's not gonna be
Right.
strong enough to face a guy like that. So in a tiny, skinny guy, he gets the fierce stuff, just to
Right. Okay.
counterbalance. And so there's this sort of that's a very, you know, how you say, generalization sort of thing. But
Right.
this thing kind of works quite well, obviously. And I have to say, I'm very blessed with my clientele because they are very mature and connected in some way to the philosophies and culture of Japan. At least in some way, shape, or form, a fan of it. So most people that come to me are somewhat informed, have a certain understanding and knowledge of really what they want. So I am the guide to basically guide them through the process of finding the right design and telling them about the certain traditions that we cannot break, and and then the design kind of crystallizes out of the whole conversation. And I have to say, most people that come to me that like my work, which always helps if they know what I do and if they are informed. My work is being nowadays sort of created out of a space of sort of a zone. Yeah, because I don't have to use my thinking head anymore to kind of create background and stuff. That's more flow state. So flow state is something that I have to say is the most amazing achievement for myself personally, because of me not really having to think much anymore when I do these things, which means that my whole experience and all the knowledge and all the books that I kind of know by heart by now has kind of found a place within my cells that I can access these things without having to dig for it. And that is a very comfortable place to be in, to be honest. I feel that what makes me feel so comfortable with what I do. And which was very helpful as well, because I was very busy with my children and with my family matters and issues. And if I would have then had to go to a job where I would have had to use my thinking and hard work, as in, you know, creating something with your ego mind, that you have to be perfect and this has to be great and this is shit because you don't know how to do it, and I have to look into some techniques and how to, then that would have broken me, you know. So now for quite a few years, I have this ability to practically willingly go into the state of non-thinking, and that what helps me create these tattoos. And
Your freehand stuff is amazing. I mean, like, I remember when you just started busting out these videos of you freehanding whole fucking sleeves and backs and ribs, and I was like, when the fuck did this happen? Because I didn't see any of that, and then you were doing that, right? And I was like,
it happened out of pure desperation, because I didn't have time to prepare anymore. Seriously. So, and then I had to do it.
I remember those times, yeah.
I realized it works, you know. I realized, you know, instead of drawing on paper, I can do it like this. But what I wanted to say is that the client, when he comes to me and he likes my work and he wants this quality and this look, he's better off to just tell me, I would like to have this sort of design on this arm or this back or whatever, and then please do your thing. You know, because the more he restricts me in my ways, saying, you know, you can do this, but, you know, I really don't like blue, and oh yeah, and I don't like this, and then oh, while you're at it, can we maybe see that we can the dragon look not so angry? And I was, no, not really happy, but, you know, and I'm like, yeah, but okay, what is angry, you know? And the dragon is not really angry. The dragon looks stern because he's a strong, serious animal that is representing essentially our souls, you know. And he can't look like a clown, you know. He's supposed to look like a, you know, content or something, you know, like, oh yeah, I've made it now or whatever. I mean, there's just meaning. There's no power, no seriousness in this matter. You know, it's just a serious business. Japanese traditional is serious business. It can still be done with kindness and humility. It
but
does
it
not
is
have.
serious. It is serious, and
It is serious. It doesn't have to be done in a overly strict manner, and like, you know, there can be strict. There's strictness, obviously, you know, but there's moderation. There needs to be space for things. But in any case, so the less I'm being restricted, because of course these special wishes, I need to keep those in mind. And then when I'm in a flow state, there is not much thinking going on. So, but if I know that there is something that I have to keep in mind, I have to always go out of the flow state,
revert back to
I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Or no, I'm not even thinking that, but this is like, yeah, this is, it kind of flows and it's coming out. And then I'm kind of nearly done. And I'm like, oh shit, he didn't want, you know, the fucking face to look like this, you know? It needs to be different. And then I'm like, okay, give me that alcohol, so I'm going to wipe it. So this is difficult, and I'm not catering to my clients' needs, or I am providing a service. Yeah, I am providing a service. I do serve my clients, and their happiness is my utmost.
Your goal, your mission.
Yes, because my nightmare would be that I would give someone something that they are not happy with, because it's permanent. So their happiness is definitely my most my most important.
Now, what's your feeling on the importance? I know the answer, so I just want to hear your take on it, on the importance of the longevity of a tattoo. Like obviously the traditional Japanese has that classic forever. You do a tattoo now, it's still relevant in 30 years, it holds up. But in terms of the longevity and the permanence of how you tattoo, like the inks you use, the color, the lines, this kind of thing. Do you put a lot of thought into this? Do you counsel your clients to stay out of the sun, that kind of thing?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, the sun is murderous for tattoos. I tell them that. Yeah, I tell them UV shirts. I'm wearing UV shirts. My tattoos are over 20 years old. They're pretty crisp, and it's in there. And I'm wearing 50 plus SPF 50 shirts, for swimming, for being at the bar, sunbathing or whatever. Yeah. Anything. I'm never exposing my tattoos to sun. And telling this to my clients as well. I mean, it's not. It's painful. There's quite a process. It's quite a lot of suffering involved.
Yeah.
A lot of traveling.
Yeah.
But you don't want to judge the look of your tattoo, because it ages. It should age with dignity, and I think Japanese tattooing is not really being touched up. So it sometimes, very rarely, some colors that fade dramatically because of the quality of them need to be touched up, maybe in 10 years. Otherwise, I think there's no touch-ups at all. And you choose your tattooer, you stick with one, you stick with that tattooer in Japan.
Yeah.
I have no how you call it in English, expectation of my clients to do so. I am very happy for them to choose whoever they want to tattoo them.
Right.
Because it's their life, they need to choose. In Japan, you know how it is. You choose one master, you stay with him, you only like his work, and it's yeah.
So how long were you in Japan for? So did you tattoo in Japan at Horisumi Studio, or were you just learning and helping and then bringing your knowledge back West?
I flew about twice a year, every year for 20 years, and then by myself on my own accord another few times. So I was probably there about 40 odd times.
Right.
Yeah. And I stayed for quite a while in the beginning, several months, and later when the kids came, it became a few weeks.
It changes when you have kids. So yeah, it changes when you have kids. Priority shift and. Right?
Yeah, but I went there quite a bit before I had children, so like 13, 14 years without kids. Approximately, I would say. About 12.
Would you say that you're as passionate now about tattooing and your work as you were when you started? Is your passion maintained? Is it increased? I mean, do you still derive a lot of personal satisfaction and fulfillment from what you do?
Yes, I do.
We all get cynical when we get old, right? And we see the young people coming up kind of abusing tattooing. Sometimes it's hard to stay on the path. Right?
That is a different tattooing, though. It has nothing to do with what I do. It has nothing to do with what we do, in my opinion. at least in my humble opinion. Let them do whatever, you know. It's not for me to judge. I don't understand it, and because I don't understand it, I cannot judge it. I do understand tattooing and the tattoo world to a certain extent, and I know what's right and wrong as a human being. I do understand Western tattooing to a certain extent, of course. I mean, tattooing in general, when I say I understand it to a certain degree, but I really much more understand what I do myself and why I do it, and what my expectation to myself is, and you know, and when I compare the two, if I may compare, which some people say one shouldn't compare because everybody's different, you can't compare yourself and you shouldn't, and so on. But sometimes you do, you know, and if I do, and I have to say I have nothing in common with this world, and I'm not better or something. I'm just probably quite very different. And quite a few people in my sort of age league and expertise I have more in common with, and we quite a think alike, and there seems to be something have gone wrong in many ways for them, you know, or in their way. And then I don't know. It doesn't look so good for the future of tattooing in general, I think. I'm not very hopeful, but I don't really like hope as a concept anyways. Not really a big fan of hope. It is what it is, you know, and it will be what it will be. And I mean, we have a certain obligation, in my opinion, as the holders of torch, to fight maybe for where tattooing is going.
That's what I do with my podcast. That's what I talk about all the time is this thing, right? Paying your dues, respecting tradition.
That's one way.
You know?
You're doing something, you know. I mean, I'm not doing as much, and I think that is a bit difficult to do something as an individual, and I do kind of not see so much grouping. And I think that already
lost your camera there, bro. There we go.
Yeah. Already before, I think that already the generation before me had a certain obligation, I think, to do something and guide the newcomers and the new world of tattooing in a certain way. And I think that they utterly failed to do so. I think that they retreated, and that's not a huge criticism because that is what it is as well, and it's fine, you know. But you know, I was in between the old timers and, you know, the real legends and the newcomers. So I'm an in-between, you know. I didn't think and didn't have the feeling that it was up to me or my generation to take up the task of guiding anyone. I kind of expected the generation before me to do so, you know, because my generation might be the last ones from the times.
Well, you and I are the same generation, right? I've been tattooing 30 years. I'm 52 years old. I grew up in the bike. I came up from biker shops, and then I went to the Japanese side of things. So I think when our older generation, our predecessors, their way of guiding tattooing was controlling supplies and controlling who could tattoo by having the funnel into tattoo shops, needle making, ink making, machine tuning. These three things kept tattooing small and controlled. And then when needle making became mainstream Chinese commodity in 2000, the dam burst. And then here we are, cartridges, plug and play machines, store-bought ink. There is no more, you know, gatekeeping, so to speak, right? And that's what's kind of caused things to go in this crazy way. The water's everywhere, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, there was a lot of money to be made, I guess, for commercial places. But this is another thing. This is not my world either.
Yeah.
You know, it's well, basically, I'm probably just an artist, and
Mm.
artists are hopefully strange and weird, because if you're an artist and you're not, then something's wrong. So, I'm very limited to certain things,
Yeah.
I guess. Otherwise, I can't be as obsessed as I am with what I do. And I still
Yeah.
am obsessed, even though I had quite some dampers in my career in a way, involuntary, I would say. Quite some amazing gifts from life that only life can come up with. Some stories,
Keeps things interesting, right?
incredible.
Look,
It's
in my opinion, like I said,
it's
when I met
tragic.
you, what's
Like
that?
it's more like an absolute crazy tragedy than it's been wild.
But it's been for you, I mean, for what you went through, it's been with your break off into your own direction. I think your work has gotten, you've achieved incredible things. I mean, the body of work you're putting out, the amount of work you're putting out, and the way you're putting it out is something you might not have been able to achieve prior, you know?
Yeah, maybe another drive. I'm not sure. It was very hard to keep going. But I don't even look. I have no idea. Do I have a big body of work?
I
I
think so.
don't.
I think so. I see the stuff you put out and the beauty of your
Yeah,
work. The original, like I can see your piece. I can be scrolling, or I can see someone that's traveling. And I recognize your work, right? And that's the great achievement, is to recognize, have your own
mm.
style, and know exactly who did that, right?
Well,
And the
yeah,
fact.
that's pretty cool. And sometimes I'm being asked how one achieves that. I've I don't know. That just happens. It happens with
But the
doing it.
originality of your work,
Or,
and your provenance as well. I mean, your story. In my opinion, no, and we're not blowing smoke up your ass, friends, but you and like the people you mentioned before, like Philip and Luke and some of those other guys, you're the shoulders that we stand on in tattooing, right? And the guys that, I mean, I see a lot of the younger guys. I'm early guys doing Japanese that are, because they've got so much reference in the books that you've published and the books that we've all collected. They've had tattooing come very easy to them, and in their first 5 years, they're putting out aesthetically good-looking work. But I don't feel like it has the power behind it, or the story. I mean, like, it's like art, like painting. Let's say an artist that has a story and has like a tragedy in their life and has a path and the journey, that makes their art, in my opinion, and most art collectors agree, that's what makes art. But just a 3-year art student that can paint a beautiful picture that is devoid of meaning doesn't sort of have the same kind of power. Do you know what I'm trying
it's
to get at?
true. Yeah, absolutely. I,
Yeah.
I I agree. Yeah. I mean, I guess a certain character has to come in, and I think so many people just want to have a style or want to have career success or anything right now. The
Yeah.
people are not they're not very patient anymore. This is something I don't know. And then some people are really very fast, very successful. But what
Yeah.
are they going to do? Are they in it
But
for
how
the
do you
long run?
maintain that? How do you maintain that when you peak so early?
Make Yeah, that's why I'm not jealous, and I don't see it as a threat. I don't. I think it's made tattooing a bit poorer. The where we came from and what it was, this spirit we had and we still have, because there's quite some conventions still where we can feel that spirit,
Mm.
and that's so lovely. As long as we are around and we go to these places and meet the old guys, um, we'll be able to keep it up a little bit longer, for us at least. Yeah, so I don't know. It's quite a
So,
quite a ride.
so where do you see yourself for the next 10 years? Just buckling down, doing the same stuff, trying to improve yourself, trying to refine your work?
Well, I'll wait for the third 10,000 man hours being put in 2 years time and see what that click brings, because every 10 years was a click and something clicked. And if I get to see it in 2 years, because God knows what's going to happen next year, I'm very curious to see what kind of click that will be,
Right.
And I will finally be able to say that I might be, I think that will be quite an achievement. The 25th year, some people celebrate 25 years, and I kind of thought about it and wanted to do something with a shop maybe or something, but that just went past super quiet. And but I think the 30 years, I'm gonna maybe make a little post or something. But curious, and 10 years, man, I'm definitely going to do exactly what I'm doing as long as I can do it, until I'm dead. There's no exit plans or plans or anything of the like. Nothing of the like. I'm doing this.
Where can people see your work? You have a website? You have an Instagram?
Tattoos, Instagram, like at Holy Fox Tattoos.
Holy Fox Tattoos on Instagram. Do you have a website that you update? Do you have a website that you update?
Ideally, I update it. Yeah, I'm not the most guy, but it's a beautiful website. You should go visit it.
What is it?
It's www.horikitsune.com. HORI.
I'll put a graphic from there.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm working on a new book which comes out as well, which is the Kevin Antiques book. Been 7 or nearly 8 years in the making, and was the bumpiest ride ever, with floods flooding the shop of the antique shop.
This is photographs of Japanese antiques.
Yes, it's basically, and these antiques are all Meiji period stuff made for export from 150 years, which are made by these amazing swordsmiths and other incredible artisans.
And when will you be releasing? When will you be releasing that?
Once they are able to bloody print it, because the printer went bust here. Then there was no paper. Then now there is some problems with some photos, and we have to change some stuff around. It's all at the print now, but it seems like it's going to take another few weeks for them to even send a proof. So it's a crazy world now, So, we had all these different things, COVID, and oh my God, so happened. So now finally it's at the printers. So it will be the 10th publication of that
of your imprint.
Yeah. So
I mean, your earlier books are collector items, man. They're worth a fortune. I've got 3 copies of all of them in my little archives.
Yeah, it's good you do. I wish I could have gotten all that money for it, obviously. Yeah.
Classic.
Cool.
Listen, we'll wrap it up. It's been almost an hour. Thank you so much, mate. It's been a great conversation. We'll do this again. We'll check in next time. We'll do a part 2. We'll talk about some other stuff, but you're my first podcast interviewee, and I think it's gone very well, and I'm really happy with it. So thank you for your time, Alex.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. And we'll talk again soon, all right? Good luck with everything.
See you, man. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, brother. Thanks, mate.